Hi, I'm Brien Lundin, and I am at the Metals Investor Forum. I have the great pleasure to talk with Brandon Macdonald, CEO of Fireweed Metals right now. And Brandon, I'm so used to saying Fireweed Zinc, even though it's been Fireweed Metals for a while, but I think that name change, it obviously reflects the reason for the company, the mission of the company now, in that you are looking at not the sexy gold and silver, but the very solid stories of metals, resources that the world simply can't do without, and they have just some dynamic supply-demand fundamentals behind them. Let's start a little bit about what that focus is for Fireweed and why.
I think the emerging focus within governments and industry on these critical metals or critical minerals, as we refer to it in Canada, really has a lot to do with this is in part a COVID thing, in terms of the stress on supply chains and do we need to onshore some stuff? So we're,
Brought it all to light.
Some deglobalization, but also that onshoring because of concerns around geopolitics. This is not just Russia, but this is also China, of which we have an uneasy at times relationship with. So we saw an opportunity to pick up what I consider to be the best tungsten project in the world, which was immediately adjacent to our zinc project. So there was a real synergy there.
So I'm just curious, you saw that, was it the opportunity you saw to get the project and then expand the focus of the company, or were you expanding the focus of the company and then saw the project, or kind of both?
It was a bit of both. We didn't have tungsten explicitly on our radar. I think one of the key things for any junior is what are you selling investors? And as a story gets too broad, it starts to be a question of, well, we have a gold project in Colombia and a zinc project in Canada, and we have a rare earth project in Sweden.
Story,
and
people
it's like
lose interest.
People are like, well, what am I buying here, right? So we felt geographically like immediately adjacent to each other. Although the tungsten project literally crosses the border into the NWT, so it's in both NWT and Yukon. But we saw that they're both, key critical minerals, both ones that the West does not have ample of. Tungsten in particular, 85% of mine supply comes from China. You can imagine how the Canadian, US, EU governments feel about something that there's no machining of metal without tungsten. There's no electronics, there's no aerospace, there's no defense, right? A lot of defense applications. So you can imagine the anxiety around that.
And it's important to note that this is additive to the story, because the market, even if it wasn't a supply chain issue, the market for tungsten, the market for zinc have tremendous supply-demand dynamics behind fundamentals. So the prices are going up over the coming years considerably, regardless. But both of your projects could have stood alone on their own, even if there wasn't some issue with supply sources and potential supply constraints. So let's talk about both of those projects very quickly, because I want to get into what's been going on with the company. You've got a lot of news coming up. Let's explain to the audience quickly the zinc and the tungsten projects.
Sure. I mean, our zinc project, the Macmillan Pass or Mac Pass, Zinc-Lead-Silver Project, really zinc primary by a good margin. This is something we picked up in 2016 and expanded from 54 square kilometers to 940. Made a couple additional discoveries. And this is a project that the first drilling was in 1951. There's been 120,000 meters of drilling. And yet last year we had hit the best ever intersection on the project.
So a story of rediscovery and not just discovery.
So and this is a whole, 124 meters of 12.5% zinc. The best we can tell is the best greenfields zinc exploration hole in terms of grade width in at least a decade. Right. So it's an unparalleled project in terms of zinc development
and still growing.
It's just there's so much left. I think 7 of our 10 top drill holes sit outside the 2018 resource.
Wow.
So this is reflects what's coming, and likewise the tungsten project. When you look at sort of a tonnage and contained metal sort of chart of global projects, it's an absolute freakish outlier, right? So, pardon me. We've got 2 really the best in class projects, right? So that for us is incredibly exciting to be not dealing with also rans, like when you've got amongst the biggest and the best, like you can be pretty confident they can get developed.
Yeah, and one of the exciting things to me about Fireweed is you're really coming into your own right now. You've always been regarded, if I can be so bold to say, as a smart play in the industry because you've got great management, you've got great value, you've got clear road ahead to build size and value.
Yeah.
But now it's all coming together. A lot of companies during COVID weren't able to do a lot, and a lot of them decided not to do a lot for various reasons. You were able to do a lot. You were able to keep drilling. You were able to acquire perhaps the world's best tungsten project. You were able to get a major financing recently with some smart people who just happen to be named Lundin.
Yeah.
And they invest pretty smartly
Yeah.
in projects. They recognize value. So set the stage now on where you are now, because you've got a lot of news coming up across the board.
Yeah, I mean, last year, in a sense, 2022 isn't done for us. We've only put out 2 of the 32 drill holes.
Yeah, that's amazing to me.
Right,
Yeah.
So we've got a lot left to do there, a lot left to release anyways, right. And that's all coming probably in the next month, I'm guessing.
Wow. Pre-PDAC news flow, huh?
Yeah, amazing, and certainly for Mactung, a resource update in pretty short order. We've been relying on a historic resource there. We expect that to improve a little bit with the update. Just finishing off a resampling program there. But now with $40 million in the bank, right, with that $35 million financing in December, that backed by the Lundin family. Like you said, nobody bats 1,000, but they're pretty savvy.
Yeah, they are very smart, and you've done a lot. Although the company, again, Fireweed, has always been well supported, well known as a smart play in the industry. Something nothing's a slam dunk, as we say, but it's fair to say that I don't think anyone who's invested in Fireweed has lost much or anything. It has always made money over the longer term. So it's been a smart play. You've never hurt for money for financing, but you've never had this kind of money. So if you've been able to do what you've been able to do before you get this is a real force multiplier at this point. What are the plans?
Yeah, I think we've been able to succeed in challenging markets, right?
Yeah.
And been swimming upstream, and sometimes when the current's fast, as the bear market has been, recently, sometimes flat is the new up, and we've managed to actually go up a little bit, and now we're planning a drill program that's as big as every drill program we've done before combined.
Wow.
So,
and when does that start?
May.
May. Oh, okay.
So normally we start July. We're going to start substantially early this year. So there's a lot of moving parts to plan this. We've staffed up. We were a company of 5 people 3 years ago. Yeah. Now it's closer to 25. Wow. Right. So it's
exciting. Huh?
Yeah, it is extremely exciting, and it really changes what you do as a CEO. Yeah. Right. Because now suddenly you're having to let go.
Right.
Hire talented people.
That's tough for you, isn't it?
It is. I'm not an obsessive details person, but I like to be involved. And what I've had to found for some things is like fully, weekly update. Yeah. Otherwise, please just do it. Right. You have faith in people.
You have to.
And we've assembled an amazing team. It's the best team I've ever worked with. Right. And that was like people like the Lundin family, when they come to site and they meet the team. That's a huge differentiator, right?
Right.
When they come to site, when they come to site, they realize like that level of professionalism and competence, right? So it is going to be a big year for us. That really goes into 2024 as well.
And where will the drilling be focused?
It'll be all over, right? So actually everything should get drilling. Mactung's quite a mature project, but we do want to redo or improve the metallurgy there. So there'll be some drilling there. Most of the balance of drilling probably at Boundary and Boundary West, but targets at Tom adjacent as well. And I've encouraged people not to sleep on those 2 deposits, which are the original 2 we acquired. Some incredible drill holes there that sit outside the resource that need chasing, right?
And Boundary and Boundary West, they were not included in the original resource estimate, right?
No, so we didn't even own them in 2018.
Right. So you're talking about a considerable increase in resources for the next estimate. Are you going to get through the next drill program before the next estimate, or what would be the time?
We had been promising that we were going to release a resource update and economics on Mac Pass, the zinc project this year. With now, going to have twice the drilling to
Right.
differentiate. I don't know that it's the right time, right? Like, because we would just go around and it'd be so much different if we did it next year.
Yeah.
Right. So we're giving a lot of thought to that. And certainly, you know, I hope people have confidence that when you're planning 20,000 or whatever meters, it's so much, you know, and you've got such a big budget, you're not delaying a resource and a study because you're concerned about what it's going to look like. It's just like, well, no, I'm excited about what it's going to look like next year even more, right? So
and I think it's important for people to understand that you've always been very understated about this, you know, and that's part of the character. You've proven what it is, and let the numbers speak for themselves. But when that resource estimate comes out, you're taking a world-class project, and these are going to be eye-popping numbers because there's so much drilling that has been done since the last resource estimate that is not included. It's just easy to see. So we're out of time, Brandon. There's so much to go over, but again, this has always been a smart investor's play in the industry. It is even more so now, and a lot more to go ahead. So thank you so much.
Thanks very much.